Good morning, everybody. It's Sunday, March 12th, 2023, and we are here, but it would appear to be an hour early today since we sprung forward last night. And I don't mind telling you that I did not know we were springing forward last night because I've been living under a rock. So, I feel like it's early, 10 o'clock. It says 11 o'clock Pacific time. So I am Teri Hunter. I am here this morning with our weekly intuitive astrology and tarot readings. So what I'm going to do this morning is I'm going to do a brief talk about the transits that are coming up this week. And then I'm going to go by each one of the rising signs and give you an angel reading and a tarot card for the week. So we're going to jump right on in. Hi, whoever's out there, my one person. I had a feeling potentially other people may not be aware that it was good morning, Gita. Anyone else thrown off by this time change? I absolutely don't even know where I've been because I had no idea this time change was happening. So I feel half asleep. Good morning, Stephen. Congratulations on a good week. Good morning. I think it's Kirit. Good morning, Catherine and CI. Welcome. So this week is we're in March. It's a big month. This last week, we just had a full moon in Virgo, and we had the same day Saturn move into Pisces. This energy, it's interesting to me because I don't know what I was expecting, but it was an easier week than I anticipated in the respect of feeling a sense of ease and flow, even if I didn't feel particularly productive. I want to put it that way. I was like in a life maintenance mode this last week. And sometimes I only think I'm productive when I'm in a money making mode. So this was good. And I want to talk about, I wanted to mention quickly, if you have not had a chance to check them out, I have done videos for each sign with Pluto moving into Aquarius and Saturn moving into Pisces. I went into the spring, I gave dates and talked in a lot of detail. So check out those videos. We also have the March videos up because I think where we're headed as we walk into this week, Venus is going to move into Taurus. So we will feel a sense of comfort and familiarity with that. We also have quite a few planets in Aries right now. And I think this is really a kind of a call to action, to assess and to evaluate how we are asserting ourselves. But this is where I want to kind of tweak the assertion idea. Because I've been, I talk to Saturn all the time. I don't know why I think Saturn's like a human. So I just have these conversations in my head and I literally feel like I get answers. And recently, I feel like Saturn has been saying to me that while human effort is part of the equation, where his energy gets really rough is not in the actual efforting, it's in the belief that we have about what we're efforting towards. So that's why sometimes Saturn can feel repressive and limiting and heavy, because the human wants to be able to see progress, wants to be able to see their manifestations start to come into play. So, meaning in the 3D world. So I want to offer this because we have, as I said, Venus moving into Taurus. So this is going to be an opportunity to really look at how am I expressing my voice, whether it be actually creatively like a singing voice or just how I'm communicating with other people. Am I being authentic and am I being an energy that I would be able to receive if someone was communicating with me what I have to say? Because these planets in Aries, we have Jupiter and Chiron, again, just continuing the conversation about what do I believe about myself? How am I going to process any wounds that I have? Because the human experience was not designed to be without its challenges. The challenging dynamics that the human experience offers is where the empowerment lies. It's where the tail wag comes in. It's where the achievement and the exhilaration and the zest for being in the human experience happens. So here, I think with all this energy, we've got I meant to write down all the planets and I didn't do it. We right now, as of today, we still have Venus in Aries. We have Jupiter in Aries. We have, I believe Mercury is in Aries right now. Anyway, bear with me because I didn't write it down because I was thrown off by the time change. So I still feel half asleep because this is where I'm going. We also have okay, so Aries is this individualistic energy, this brave, pioneering energy. Rather than always being the aggressor and always being the hostile person, this is really more about how do I want to fulfill myself? How do I want to fill my own cup? And then as Venus has moved into Taurus on the 17th, we're going to start to feel a sense of wanting to actually take action, to start to, take a Taurian energy of compiling and building this sense of ourselves and our voice and what we want to express. And I want to say it this way because there's a lot of hues to this. It doesn't mean the expression has to result in making money or creating a relationship or anything that human structure would define as productive. This is really more about a soul's inner knowing, inner sense of safety, security, and an ability to know that your manifestations are just a focus away. And going through that journey of up and down, knowing and unknowing, is going to support the strength of that moving forward. So every time you doubt and then you come out of doubt, you feel stronger. That's my whole point. Now, at the same time, we have a growing T-square between Pluto and the nodes. And I have to say, I think this is super important because this T-square, the focal point is Pluto. So I want to offer it this way because Pluto, with that dang heart on the planet and being as small and out into space, the furthest point out into space, there can be a feeling of coldness, of not being seen, of living underneath where everybody else is sitting. And I feel as if now, if we allow our heart, and this is again plays to those planetary activity in Aries, as we allow the deeper part of our heart to express itself, yes, it's going to create a tension. The tension is, again, how much do I believe in the viability of my own dreams? And am I willing to believe beyond what my human apparatus, my eyes, my ears, my nose, what I can feel, see, touch, and taste in the way of its viability? Because I was listening to Rick Levine the other day, and he was talking about going into the age of Aquarius and that we're really not there. And he was talking about it in a time frame and that we're 150 years out till the actual age of Aquarius. And I'm like, you know what? There is no real time. Time is an invention of man. And I was thinking that the age of Aquarius is not a period of time, but an adoption of a new way of thinking that is very futuristic. It's accepting in its diversity. It is inventive and exploratory and willing to look beyond itself while including itself in the mix. So I absolutely believe we're in the shadow period of the age of Aquarius, because the end of Pluto in Capricorn is breaking down the old structures in order to make way for new ways of thinking. So that's where I'm going with that. And that's what I have to say about the transits today. Again, I have to say that I took a shower and I had coffee and I'm still asleep and I don't even know why. This time change just took me for a loop. Wasn't expecting it. But I'm glad to see everybody here. And if you're new to the room, welcome to our Sunday gathering. This is a place of like-mindedness, and yet we allow for diversity of thought and this is a place of acceptance and love. All right. Good morning, Lucy Rose. Good morning, Jules and Sandy. Scarred Owl, good to see you. Stephen, good. Who else is in here I didn't see? Wait, let me scroll down a little bit. I think I got to everybody. Hey, Dusk, good to see you. Okay, I said hi to everybody. Awesome. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's jump into our readings this week. And again, if you haven't had a chance to check out those Pluto Saturn videos, I must say I thought I did a pretty good job, so I think you'll like them. And my tooth is back to normal, or I should say that tooth is gone and I'm all right as rain as far as all that goes. Welcome, Paul. Good to see you. Good to see you. All right, so we're starting with our Pisces. Next Sunday, by the way, is a monumental day. It is a day like no other because Lucky will be turning 11 years old on the 19th of March, the very last day of winter here and the very last day of Pisces. So he'll be making an appearance. Right now, he's asleep on the couch. He's so funny these days. Okay, here we go. For our Pisces, our tarot card is the Wheel of Fortune. Now, this is a really, really awesome energy because what it says is everything is secular. And what we see are the elements all represented in the corners. We see the Sphinx is at the top of the wheel because thought is things, and that which we focus in on, whether we are conscious of it or unconscious of it, it is still the primary energy of our experience. Where we're focusing is bringing in elements, dynamics, and situations for us to reassess a situation to decide, is it working for me or is it not? So on some level, we are all co-creators of each and every experience. And if there, for some reason, I want to say that Pisces has experienced like a false start because, Saturn just moving into your sign may have inadvertently made me feel like I was about to move forward and then things slowed down or like the offer didn't come in or the relationship started to feel an ebb. I want to offer it this way because there may be more going on than you can see with your eyes. And now this is about going into your inner knowing, into that gut instinct, and allowing yourself to start to assess situations from a place of balanced thought is the way I want to talk about it. It's almost like if you have a habitual thought like, oh, there that person goes again. Every time I like somebody, they squirrel off. This is your opportunity to hear that loopy thought that you have and ask yourself, does this have to be true now? In this moment, does everybody squirrel off because of something that is unattractive about me? Or is there something better coming in and my vibration is now aligned to a bigger thought? And so I am calling forth the reward that the Wheel of Fortune offers. Major Arcana cards are always have a heavier influence than the minor Arcana. We're looking at a 10 here, which is a 1, which represents thought, also new beginnings. We are about to go into a very powerful new moon. And a lot of these astrological dynamics that we're walking through in this beginning time, Saturn in Pisces and soon to be Pluto in Aquarius, I don't know that we're going to hit them like bam. But I do think that we're going to start to feel this ramping up. And those of us who are conscious are going to be able to build a house with a very strong structure because the house will start here. So let's go and see what the Wheel of Fortune wants Pisces to know. Pisces rising, and then we go moon. And I say moon because humans are emotional creatures. And I do not believe for 1 minute that we don't manifest on an emotional body. I actually think our emotional body is the most powerful and most influential of all energies in what we experience on the earth. And while we're sometimes we don't really want to be aware of that because when we feel like we bring in negative situations, we go, I don't want that. I didn't want that. Why would I do that to myself? I don't know if you guys remember back last summer, I think it was, maybe even last spring, I was doing a webinar and I was sitting in my house, minding my own business at the table when there was a knock at the door and it was 3 policemen and they ended up calling me an old lady. Like they didn't do it to be mean. It was an inadvertent insult. But I thought to myself, how random am I sitting in my house, minding my own business? And I feel I've co-created this experience about my aging process. And when I looked at it on a deeper level, I realized that I'm not used to being an older woman. I'm still adjusting to the idea. And while I may not have actively sought out in that moment, I was getting an opportunity to decide if their assessment of me was true or false. Because age has really more to do with excitement for life than it does an actual aging process. So I'm using that as an example because when you guys rather than villainize yourselves for some of the more challenging experiences you have, you look deeper into what does this experience have to offer me in the way of extracting wisdom or seeing a new version of myself, walking through a habitual dynamic where I normally make this one decision, but now I'm making a more empowered decision because I have a deeper awareness of my unconscious platform of creation. That's the best way I want to say it. All right. Welcome, Dr. Linda Joy Epp. Good to see you. Nice to have Toronto in the house. All right, here we go. Our first angel for Pisces rising is Serena, the angel of abundance and money. Then we have Oceana, which could very well be your angel because you rule the oceans. We have Adriana and Maya. Now, one of the first things that I felt like on a challenging, because when the first time we experience the energy of a planet shifting, especially as dramatically as Saturn is shifting, being in its rulership for the last 4.5 to 5 years between Capricorn and Aquarius, is at home, knows the neighborhood. Now we have put Saturn out to sea. And this is kind of, I would imagine Saturn standing at the ocean going like this, I don't want the water to hit my stomach. If he was a person, anyway, because I want to offer it this way. For my Pisces, this Wheel of Fortune could very well be a mastery of your own thought versus being subjected to the cooperative energy and mutable energy of what Pisces does. Okay, Serena's being joined by the Raven. Oceana's being joined by the Eagle. Adriana's being joined by the Lady of the Lake. And Maya's being joined by the Queen. Okay, so another thing that I want to mention is that back in the day, one of the totems for Scorpio was the eagle as well. It was not just the scorpion. So when I looked at this initially, and I'll tell you why, because I have the eagle and the opportunity or the obstacle. Pisces, Serena is really an energy of trusting in the universe. And I look at the Raven and I think it's time for you to trust. I think this is time, an opportunity for you to start to put structure into what you call spirituality. And when I talk about spirituality, this is not a study of some other philosophy. This is going deep within your inner being, your knowing what you want for you, and allowing that voice to speak loudly, more loudly than anyone else that you encounter. Because I feel as if this is where you really start to become the master of your own domain, and money will come as you allow whatever story you've been telling. You've picked the bones clean, and now the Raven is ready to transform, to move on. Because here we have this eagle, and now I'm thinking to myself, this is the deep Scorpio energy of being, not crucifying yourself, but this last year, as I've experienced Saturn on my Chiron and Pluto squaring many of my very personal planets, it's not caused me to have physical death. It's caused me to have a deep looking into my own psychology and deeper layers of when I get excited about something and it doesn't work out. Why is that? So this has really been honing my inner knowing, becoming more trusting of my own process as I understand that I am imprinted as a human. The minute the soul enters the vessel of the human apparatus, there's an imprint. Okay, it's the imprint of your parents' DNA, their experiences, everything that came before. And your soul chose that because there's an ability to prosper from that, to experience wisdom and bounty from it. Because what Pisces, what Spirit is saying is that you're being led to the answer to your dreams, but now it's kind of about getting real. This is a little bit of the Saturn energy. I'm saying a little bit. It's a lot of the Saturn energy saying, are you deceiving yourself? Are you hoping for something that isn't true? Or are you willing to do the belief work to put yourself in a situation to allow your dreams to come true and to open space for them? Or will you need to see something in the material world that gives you, this is ultimately, you'll see it when you believe it, is what Spirit's trying to say. And I think Pisces might be saying, but I need to see it before I believe it, because now you are getting an education, a continued education on how to be receptive, on how to understand that this is a universe of attraction, not assertion. So I want to offer it this way, because you will know bounty as you master your thoughts over this next 2.5 years, maybe almost 3 years, because Saturn will be in Pisces until February 2026. So this is a real opportunity for you to look at some of what some people call Saturn's challenging energies and say, do my fears serve me? Have I been empowered by my fears? Have I walked through a situation that initially I was like, oh no, and then I conquered it? Because the real excitement comes from the conquering, and you can't conquer something unless there's a challenge attached to it. That's where I'm going. All right, let's go on to our Aries. Lots of stuff going on in your neighborhood. My little dog. I just love this little dog so much. It's so interesting. Those of you that have watched me, I don't know if you remember when Lucky bit me, and it was out of frustration. He was going through that skin thing and I was driving him crazy. And ever since then, I've been sort of like, you know what? I'm not freaked out. I don't love you too much anymore. I used to love him sort of like as I think that sometimes Cancer loves. I was loving him too much from fear, like I would lose him. And ever since I sort of surrendered to, he lives as long as he lives, and I'm going to make sure he has the best life he has for as long as he has it, he has been more affectionate to me. And when I got my tooth extracted, I don't know if he could smell something in me different, because I'm assuming that, have the medicine and the blood or whatever. But he was like laying on me. I'm like, what, am I dying? I thought I might be dying because the dog was being so nice to me. But no, I lived. All right. I digress. I talk too much. Welcome, Jay Sean. Good to see you in the room. All right. For our Aries, the Four of Wands. Not only does this represent fire, and you are fire, it also represents celebration. And I want to offer it this way because we know that you've been experiencing Chiron traversing through your sign for quite some time. And depending upon the planets within Aries for you, you could have 3 or 4 planets in there. Chiron's going to come up on every single one of those, and the question will be raised. Are you willing, Aries, to extract the wisdom that this conjunction has to offer you, or square for that matter? Because I've been experiencing squares from Pluto, because as I have initially thought, oh no, is this going to be a little bit frightening? It has not been. It's actually been very empowering. And at the same time, I've walked through physical challenges, not meaning my body, but material stuff, et cetera, et cetera. And each time I walked through that challenge, I found myself more aware and more willing to be forgiving of my own ebb and flow. That's the way I want to put it. Okay, so let's go on and see what the angels have to say, because Aries, I think there's something to celebrate, and I think that may be celebrating you. And all this planetary activity that we're looking at that's going on right now in Aries is giving us an opportunity to take the higher vibrations of Aries, the higher vibrations of what it takes to be a hero. Okay, because a hero walks into danger. A hero, by nature has a sense of confidence in their prowess to be able to walk into that situation and maneuver within it. So now as we stretch for that energy, and we understand that part of that energy will be an initial potential thrust of energy, right? So it could come out in anger, but the anger, as it is constructively expressed to your liking, will then be an empowering situation. Okay. All right, here we go. Aries, our first angel is Isaiah. The second is Sonia. The third is Rochelle. And the final is Archangel Raphael. I can't, I always think about the idea that, Mars co-rules Scorpio. And I think because of Pluto's influence at this very, very, masterful 29th degree of Capricorn, I really think that this, and then we're in no short order, in like 2 seconds flat, it's going to move into Aquarius, stay at that 0 degree. So I want to offer it this way, because wherever this is in your chart is giving you an opportunity not to criticize, not to look at yourself as, oh, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, blah, 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 but rather seeing how all that energy, whatever it was, is the propellant, is the fuel for where you are now. And look, we have 29 people in the room. Love that. Because Isaiah is about giving birth to new ideas, and all this energy in Aries is about individualization and a sense of yourself. Now we have Isaiah being joined by the birth card. The burden card. We have Sonia being joined by the disruption card. We have Rochelle being joined by the perception card. And we have Archangel Raphael being joined by the butterfly. So when I brought up that Mars co-rules Scorpio and rules Aries, is because there is, Scorpio is a water sign, and it's a water sign that is very intuitive. It's very powerful. I think personally that Scorpio is the most powerful of all the signs, because it's very aware of the human imprint. So this is what I want to say, because as an Aries rising, I know that I have an imprint that no matter, I cannot exterminate it. I cannot release it. It is there. The dynamics of my early childhood and the things that my parents, impressed upon me is there. So I don't try to release it anymore, because it feels futile. Because the new beginning is really about giving life to something, because the burden feels like as if maybe I'm trying, with Jupiter and Chiron being together for so long, dancing around each other, there's an expansion of the wound that offers a wisdom that takes you closer to the truth of who you really are as you allow for that transformation. But I got to tell you, your ruling planet has been stuck in Gemini forever, and it's still in Gemini. And to me, this is where Mars is cranky, because Mars is like, look, I don't want to worry about how I land on other people. I don't want to worry about, what other people think of me. I want to move on and get on to what I want to do for me. But each one of us in this earthly experience has this cooperative component with other humans. And I think this is what Aries has been taming, is to see that while you have your own individualistic point of view, other people serve to support that. So when you start to learn the higher vibrations of how heroes work in teams and how they work cooperatively for the outcome of the greater good versus just the banshee running in and raping and pillaging the village, okay? Because this is also, what does Aries represent? It represents resentment and anger. So you may be feeling this push-pull. But what Spirit is asking of you to be brave and allowing that disruption. This is Spirit telling you that they're guiding you. And this disruption card feels like I've been using the word divine disruption for quite some time. And that's what I think this is about. When I look back on my my youth, a lot of what I did was a big F you to everybody else, because people would say, you can't do this, or you can't do that, or you have to be like this. And my Aries rising was like, I don't think so. I don't think so. And so it didn't make me the most popular person in the family. But what I do believe is it created the divine disruption for me to be who I am, that Aries then allowed me to trust my own perception, my heart, what I was feeling from a deep level on the inside. And I think what is going on for you right now, especially with all this activity in your first house, is to celebrate who and what you are, to allow yourself the privilege of knowing that you have this fiery energy, but you don't need to use it all the time, and nobody else dictates when you bring it out, because you have blossomed as you've been stuck in Gemini and had to think about or to assess how you think, how you ruminate, where your attention goes. So as you went back and forth, because you pretty much Mars went through the whole sign. I mean, I think it went back to 8 degrees. So it was really covering 2 large quadrants of the 3 quadrants of a sign. The first 10, 30 degrees, you got what I'm going here, because I really think this is about blossoming. And at this point, this is about kicking into the adventure of celebrating the journey that you've walked through and the evolution that you have incorporated of not abandoning any parts of yourself, but rather fine-tuning them like a master knowing how to use your sword with prowess, with control. And this is something to be celebrated. And in doing so, now we will see this new beginning being birthed. I don't think that Jupiter transiting Aries right now was about expansion of the self from a material place. Like, I'm going to be out in the world and birth a bigger company. It feels like I was birthing a bigger version of myself, anchoring in the hero, anchoring in the pioneer, and honing how I use that skill, knowing how I use my words and my actions to enroll and to inspire versus to disengage and alienate and to understand my own resentments. Okay. Hardy har har, on to our Tauruses. Taurus, big time for you. With Jupiter just, a few months away from moving into your first house, and with Venus now entering it this week. And of course, we know Uranus has been, I wanted to say challenging you, and it may be, because Uranus has been asking you to turn the world upside down, and Taurus is like, whoa, 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 whoa. I want to turn the world upside down and keep everything the same at the same time. All right. The Page of Pentacles. Well, if this doesn't represent new money, new material resources, new ground to walk on, it's not stable. It's very hopeful. It's very, I want to use the word, it almost feels as if it's a beautiful spring day and you're starting to plant the seeds for abundance. And I want to offer this too, because with Venus moving into its domicile of Taurus, and especially if you're a Taurus moon, okay, then I really think this is going to make you feel a sense of confidence, a sense of beginnings. And I want to offer it this way, because as you get a taste of the beginnings of your manifestations, be aware of that wanting to push forward, like the taking the bull and wanting to be a little bit, oh, I got a taste of it, now I want more, 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 and being dissatisfied because the taste you got kicked in the more versus sitting in the savoriness of the taste of what's beginning to manifest. All right, let's look. Our first angel is Francesca. The second is Archangel Gabriel. The third is Celeste. And the final is Merlina. Hi, JK. Welcome to the room. Happy Sunday. Happy time change. Oh, my goodness. I don't even know why. I don't know the time change. Is it early, the time change this year? Because I just feel so thrown off. No idea it was the time change last night when I went to bed. Okay, Francesca is being joined by the Trust card for my Tauruses. Rising, Moon, Sun, and Stelliums. If you have a Stellium in Taurus, pay attention, because you got a lot of planetary activity supporting you coming up. Archangel Gabriel is being joined by the Frog. Celeste is being joined by the Water Fairy. Merlina is being joined by the Perception card. Okay, so we know as Venus moves into her domicile this week on the 17th, that's Pacific time. Please adjust for your location. Venus is about our self-worth, our confidence, and she's moving into the sign that rules our family history. So this second house on the, which Taurus naturally represents, is when the soul has it's discovered a sense of itself, and now it's starting to get a little bit mobile here. It's starting to voice itself, starting to feel what it likes in the way of food and personal comfort and pleasure as we wrap our babies up in their little papooses. Because what I'm saying is that as the beginning of your dream starts to manifest, or the beginning of new money, or the opportunity for more abundance, this feels very much like material resources. And as it comes in, there's this boomerang feeling. Francesca's saying, are you going to visualize what you want, or are you going to default back to something that's more challenging? And the human is pre-wired to default to something challenging. So just your awareness of that is a spiritual journey. That is the spiritual journey in a nutshell. The awareness of the human imprint, and then the openness for a new experience, because that's what trust is. And the trust card is a 47. The 47 reduces down to an 11. The 11 is the master number of thought. So here now we have Archangel Gabriel asking you to look at how your self-talk is. Are you feeling insecure? Are you going back to that imprint that was given to you as a child? You're this type of child, you're this type of energy. Because I think this is an opportunity to actually I never want to try to release something. I think it's a totally futile and wasted exercise, because humans are imprinted easily by negative situations, and positive situations or good situations are very much feel superficial. And the age of Aquarius is shifting all that around. The age of Aquarius is the awareness of the mind, not a period of time. So now Archangel Gabriel is helping you to feel more secure, so you can start to feel the good luck that is about to be bestowed upon you as you do the diligent work. And the diligent, I hate the word work, the diligent conscious awareness of the imprint without judgment. Because here Celeste talks about a new home or a new place of employment. And I personally know that you cannot bring happiness by moving my body from one location to another. I have to shift the way I'm thinking in order to receive my happiness. So this is a shift in the way I'm thinking, because I'm more aware of my inner knowing, that is saying, I cannot tell you guys how much, I'm a Taurus moon, I have asked myself in the year 2022 if Lucky and I were going to live in a shopping cart, because so many topsy-turvy crazy things happened in my material sector. But part of my material sector was also a shift in my focus to build something new. So here, what I feel is Merlina is not about confusion at this point, but about the magic of understanding my own perception and allowing myself the journey back and forth of my awareness of my imprint, which makes me feel insecure sometimes, or maybe I'm not safe. Everything in the world, gas is going up, bread is going up, the shelves are, empty in the markets, and we can see on a visceral and on a virtual level, I can virtually see there's a bit of scarcity. Will I buy into that, or will I rise above and know that my inner being knows there is no scarcity, and I will begin the journey of abundance from a new perception, from the inside out, aligning to how it feels as I feel safe. Because you may discover that when you start to examine how it feels when you feel safe monetarily, and the ability to make material resources is not about the stockpiling of something, but the flow of it. So as it flows in, flow also flows out. So, when the bills get bigger, the income can get bigger as you open up and allow for that to come in, and you're aware of your own historic pattern of a little bit of scarcity. Okay. And I want to offer it this way, because oftentimes the pattern is not just because your brain thinks that way. It is a DNA pattern that comes through a family line that each member of that energy has an opportunity to break, which is why they come through that. All right, let's go on to our Geminis, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Lots of stuff going on because your 10th house is Pisces. And I got to say, I really think a lot is going on for some reason in your work life, in your public image, in how you are receiving and perceiving your ability to live out your dreams. Let's see. Gemini, There is the Knight of Wands. Now, the first thing I see when I see the Knight of Wands is an excited energy, a get up and go. There is this character sitting in the saddle feels very solid. In fact, his foot looks like it's almost close to the ground while the horse is galloping up. So to me, there is something about a feeling of inspiration, a feeling of really connecting with my mind. That big old red feather kind of speaks to the base chakra. So there's this sort of wanting to connect this with this and feel inspired as I move forward. And I think the salamanders on his tunic represent being flexible and adaptable in some way. Now, Gemini is a mutable sign, but I think this might be flexible with your thought process as you may go back and forth contemplating the various options that are before you. Now, we have to also remember that Gemini, you've been experiencing Mars through your first house. And I think a lot of that Mars in your first house is about adopting a hero energy to claim yourself versus potentially being a super good team player that never gets to stand in the spotlight. Okay, so Gemini, our first angel is Fiona. The second is Aurora. The third is Yvonne. And the final is Francesca. So Fiona talks about, now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving. I want to offer this as well. You know, sometimes we get an inspired idea and we act on it and we can feel the actual divinity of the inspired idea. And then sometimes we can go from that to pushing for an inspired idea. Again, being able to start to trust this ebb and this flow. There's this feeling today, for some reason, of each one of you having these experiences with your own team, your own guides, where you're feeling inspired and propelled, and then wanting to kind of live in that energy all the time. And that would kind of not serve you. So this sort of really starting to identify where you're feeling inspired and where maybe sometimes you're pushing for inspiration. Let's see. Fiona's being joined by the partnership card. Aurora's being joined by the forgiveness card. Yvonne is being joined by the Lady of the Lake. And Francesca is being joined by the water fairy. So I really think this partnership card has a lot to do with spirit, being inspired. And because Gemini is mercurial, because Gemini, you know, is ruled by a planet that has no moon. Do you guys know that Venus and Mercury have no moons? So, and I don't want to say that doesn't make you emotional. I'm pretty sure it's because they're so close to the sun, but I want to offer it this way. Because you represent the sign of the twins, you represent the sign of bits of information, and also, you know, the teaching, the speaking, the writing. But here I think this is about learning, about being a student of how you're connecting with your team and really being able to identify the difference between inspired energy and then maybe a little bit of a pushed energy. Because Aurora says that you will soon inspire others, and this is where the reconciliation. The forgiveness card is not about forgiveness of a situation. It's more about understanding, oh, I can feel the difference between this last week. I really, the channel's been on a bit of a roll. We've been getting, I think I got on the algorithm with a couple of the videos, and it was really, really exciting and positive. And then it felt like it slowed back down. And my Taurus moon is like, I want more, I want more, I want more. And so I was pushing. And that's what I'm trying to say, Gemini. You may have been pushing for inspiration. And I feel like this is an opportunity to feel the ebb and flow of inspiration, so you can really identify it. So let's look at this real quick. Taurus is your 12th house. Venus is going to move into Taurus this week. So I think that this could very much play to the idea, because the 12th house is our ancestral house. It's a connection to the other side in many ways. It's a very compassionate sign. So I feel like your partnership with spirit will bring inspirations that will help you to trust, not to jump off when your mind tells you to, but rather when your heart tells you to. And this will bring a sense of reconciliation, because here we have Yvonne, and right now there is a push-pull. These turbulent seas represent an emotional energy, and then your mind in conflict, and your truth sits in the middle. And now it's about being vulnerable to a deeper truth of what you want. So if indeed, for some reason, within your 10th house energy, because I don't know why I want to go here, I want to go to where Saturn has moved into this house. And I feel as if the idea that if we think about Pisces is actually your 10th house, and Taurus, where Venus is your 12th house, then I feel like there's like this something about reestablishing yourself to yourself, your own sense of your self-worth, that allows you to be braver in calling forth a new energy in your 10th house activities, which brings something sustainable. And that can either bring a change of your public status in the form of your career, or potentially you could get married, or you could have a baby, or you could start a relationship. But whatever it is, it's about trusting an emotional dynamic. Again, we're seeing the ones here. We have this water fairy is a 28 that reduces down to a 1. And Francesca is saying, are you visualizing what you want, or are you focusing in on the challenge? And with Mars in your first house, you've had a long time of focusing in on or feeling an underbelly of where you may have been feeling a sense of resentment for where you have been and feeling a little bit stuck. All right. Pardon me. I'm a mess this morning. Dang time change. I was not prepared. I don't know why I feel so thrown off by it. Maybe it's because it's been rainy and foggy and everything feels like it's blending together. Okay. On to our Cancers. Oh, and look at this, the Chariot. This represents Cancer, literally. It also represents victory. It represents movement, but the movement is not obvious. Looks like this guy's standing behind a podium. You have to take a second look to notice the yellow wheels behind each Sphinx. We also see that his armor is on the shoulders are crescent moons, and the stars on the canopy. This is really a connection. Your victory comes from this integration of the polarizations. You know, we could say one is insecurity and security, trust and a lack of trust, feeling loved and feeling not loved. There's an opportunity to come to some sort of victory or some sort of anchoring down in a more stable way. But let's see how that might be done. Cancer, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. We have Chantal, the angel of romance. We have Opal, which rules children and God watching over them. We have Teresa, and then we have Desiree. Chantal is being joined by the water fairy. Opal's being joined by the deer. Teresa's being joined by the joy card. And Desiree is being joined by the disruption card. You know, as I look at this, I can't help but think my late-born Cancers are experiencing the opposition to Pluto. And I want to offer this too, because I think that there is... when I look at Chantal and I see Chantal representing love, representing intimate love, and then the water fairy, and then I see this Chariot, I wonder if for some reason Spirit isn't asking Cancer to dig deeply into how you feel loved, how you feel home, how you feel the exchange of energy between the nurturer and the nurturee, the caretaker and the caretakee, because Opal is talking about God and the angels being watching over your children. And I can't help but think this may be your inner child needing some sort of sense of feeling supported or feeling an exchange of energy. There could very well be a lack. This lack of movement could be creating some sort of polarization. And if for some reason you're on the giving end of a situation, or I think maybe this is about claiming yourself back, because this gentle, I don't feel like this is fear. I do feel like this is gentleness and diplomacy as you start to treat yourself as God would treat you and put you as a priority, because something is going on to redefine Cancer to Cancer. When we look at Pluto's influence, and I wish I could pull up the chart and actually look at Cancer a little, because I feel like there's other planetary things going on that if we think about Mars is traversing your 12th house, that's probably what it is, which is asking you to be brave, and where you're holding yourself back, or where your thoughts are stuck in a loop, or where you feel a sense of obligation and you're giving yourself up. That must be where I'm going, because Teresa talks about other people, and there's the joy card. And I feel like there's been an opportunity for Cancer to rewrite what nurturing actually means. And I think in past structural human structures, nurturing meant I take care of you. And I think that the age of Aquarius, where we're going, and the things, the transits that we have been experiencing, especially with Chiron and Jupiter being in Aries for so long, is about how does me allowing for my own individuality actually serve the greater good? Because Aries is going to square Cancer. Okay. So if we think about that, if I back up the bus, Aries is up at the top of your chart, right? It's probably like your 10th house. I'm sorry, I'm doing this in my head, so forgive me. But I feel like there's been this tension for you, and you keep trying to kind of go back and do things in a new way from an old way. Because Desiree is saying that conditions aren't favorable. And then there's the disruption card. And I feel like that might be that you get to love on you and really examine how you receive love. You know, there are people who, like, I remember, you guys remember Juan from way back in the day? Well, there was one point when we were like kind of exchanging gifts. And I remember him saying to me that he didn't want me to buy him a gift because he felt obligated to buy a gift back. And so there was not a joy in the exchange. So there's something going on here where I think that Cancer, it's about being victorious as you sort of slow your roll down, really assess the polarities in your life. Are they serving your emotional body? Are you purporting loving energies to yourself? And if you are you allowing yourself to see that as a divine mission from God as you do something that feels different than before? Because you're used to taking care of other people, but I want to offer this. When other people experience you experiencing your own personal joy, they will receive your love in a better and more powerful way, because it won't feel obligatory. Okay. I had to get a clarification card on the Desiree, because Desiree is saying there are stormy seas, something's off. And then there's the disruption card. And now we see the perception card. So your perception is that if you're feeling I must give to you, I must make sure you're okay before I take care of me, this is going to rewrite that. And the things that are going on within you that may feel like an internal turbulence is allowing you to feel a sense of calm instead of the seas. We're on Cancer, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. So this is the ocean going back and forth, allowing you an opportunity to rewrite how nurturing looks, and for you to be able to see that when you put yourself forward and when you do that authentically from a place of true joy, that you are giving to others and giving to them in ways that you could not have given to them if you were constantly feeding them something. All right. Let's go on to our Leos. I'm very, very kind of curious as to when Venus moves in later this year into your sign and then retrogrades in your sign. I can't remember when Venus retrograded last. I think it was in Capricorn. And that's going to be a very different energy because Venus in Leo. Fun, fun, fun. All right. But we're not there yet. So let's stick to this week as Venus is just moving into Taurus. And we see the Queen of Wands Very Leo energy. We can see the lions at the top of the throne and on the side of the throne. We see this little black cat in the forefront, which I think is really powerful because to me, while I see the lions, I feel like the little black cat is really the alpha energy here. And I say that because I feel like there's a stealthiness to this. There's a sort of, I don't know why it's resonating in a high vibration for me. I also want to note that she's looking out. She's not looking directly, and she's holding that sunflower. So to me, there's a feeling of promise, of I almost want to say a continued promise as I keep my eye down the line versus right here. Let's see what the angels have to say. Welcome, Rachel. Good to see you. I love sunflowers. They're very significant to me. They remind me of my grandfather. But also I want to say this because the sunflower, the sun rules Leo. There is a sense of growth. And I want to offer it this way because the sunflower goes super tall, like a stalk of corn. So it almost feels as if I'm going up and I'm looking above the situation once again. And then the queen is looking out beyond what's sitting right in front of her. And that little cat feels like it has healthy boundaries. All right, Leo, our first angel is Archangel Uriel. The second is Xana. The third is Teresa. And the final is Indriel. Oh, welcome, Sunshine. Anya, I think, did I say that right? I hope so. Good to see some new people in the room. So fun. All right, Leo. Rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. We have the letting go card, which is a 44. That's the master builder number, joining Archangel Uriel. We have Xana being joined by the novice. We have Teresa being joined by the forgiveness card. And we have Indriel being joined by the water fairy. When I look at this, I feel as if Archangel Uriel is dealing with frustration. We'll talk about anger and unforgiveness, but here it feels like frustration to me. And when I see the letting go card, I feel like Spirit is asking Leo to build from a new platform. The letting go card for me is never about letting anything go. Those of you that have watched me for a while know that my Taurus moon remembers everything like an elephant. So I can't quite let it go, but I can turn it into a powerful tool. So this let it go card turned into the song Let It Go from the movie Frozen. It's funny how some distance makes everything look small, and the fears that once controlled me can't get to me at all. So here we go. This for Leo makes me feel as if your frustration is you staring at the clock, wanting something to happen, looking out to your future and not looking right here in front of you. And I'll say it this way, because Xana is offering protection as you begin a new footing. This is skill without practice. This is a wobble in some ways. It's where I'm venturing out, but I'm unsure. Now, we know one of the challenges with the Leo energy is to have the courage to follow your heart. Leo rules the performer. You got to stand on stage and hope everybody, applauds what you have to bring forward. So where I'm going with this is there may be this where you've been thwarted because you've been kind of gripped with how will people respond, what will happen. I don't know. I'm frustrated. Things may not be moving forward because in this angel's advice is the forgiveness card. And then there's Teresa. And Teresa to me is worrying about other people. Forgiveness is not forgiveness, it's reconciliation. So let me give you an example, Leo. This channel that I'm creating here, for a while, it didn't really grow. And I think part of it was because I was trying to be like all the other astrologers. I was fearful of my perception. I was a little bit unsure how people would respond to how I saw things. I got tired of villainizing Saturn and crucifying Pluto. And I started to want to embrace these energies as, well, how do they want to serve me? And then when I went into meditation and I was ready to to address my frustration was that I was not really being authentic to my own voice. And then as I recognized that I had fear, I became more connected to spirit and saying, okay, if I'm really, meant to do this work, if this perception is as valid as it feels to me, then I'm going to feel a sense of protection through the good comments and through the challenging comments. Because you know what? Maybe there's a whole group of people out there that think like me, and I've never ever met them before. That's the reconciliation, by not worrying about what some people will think, but being authentic to my own voice. Because here, Leo, this is all about trusting that inner knowing and being aware that it's time to let your light shine, however that looks. And if you build it, people who resonate with your voice, your talents, your gifts will come. And I think maybe this is a good opportunity. Maybe this little black cat right here was really representing a small bit of a challenging dynamic of not keeping healthy boundaries about how other people perceive. And her looking out is offering you, like the sunflower, to rise above the crowd, to stand out a bit, and really not to worry too much about who doesn't like you. And I want to offer it this way, because I kind of got to this thing that when people give me a thumbs down, I'm not saying I want thumbs down or I want negative comments, but you know what? If nobody ever disagrees with you, are you really in the arena? Are you really in the game? So, just a way to bring the bright side to what could potentially appear to be a negative comment. All right, let's go on to our Virgos. This was your moon this last week, bringing some sort of illumination, some sort of light on a situation. Let's see. Ooh, speaking of light, let's go into the cold dark with the Hermit. But the Hermit offers illumination, offers an opportunity. This is really a very wise energy. It is, Father Time. And Father Time is not just about growing old, it's about wisdom. It's about, in some respects, having this sort of slowdown. Now, we're in the last week of winter here in the United States. Lucky's born on the last day of winter, and then we're going to be moving into the spring. So there could potentially be, this is the other thing as I look at this. In my astrology and tarot book, the Hermit represents Virgo. And it represents, obviously, dependability, practicality. And now I'm wondering if this isn't an opportunity to look at where your life has felt a little bit cold, where you've been walking a path that may have been laid out for you. And now, as a result of having to maybe slow down a little bit, or maybe this full moon has offered you some sort of illumination. And I really want to say, when illumination comes in, it is a piece of information, not an opportunity to judge yourself for not knowing sooner. Because Father Time is a teacher only when we are willing not to villainize it by looking back, but rather extracting wisdom. Again, my clocks did not change. I mean, my digital clocks did, but what happened was I said, okay, I better not say it too loud. I said, okay, Google, what time is it? And it started saying daylight savings time. And I was just like, in my sleep, I was like, what? What are you talking about? And then I woke up and it was an hour later. No. Adriana is our first angel for our Virgo rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Now I want to say this. As a Virgo rising, we have Pisces as your 7th house. We just had Saturn move into your 7th house. We just had this opportunity to have this full moon illuminate something about yourself and your partnerships, or how you're perceiving partnerships in your life. And I do think on some level there could be Saturn's energy could be bringing a sobering energy, because we've got Virgo, we've got Saturn, and we've got a lot of synergistic stuff going on for this particular sign. This card could not represent you more. And I don't think it's in a negative way. I think it's in an incorporating way. Okay, we have Azure in the Angel's Advice, and then we have Bridget in the final position. Adriana is being joined by the Queen. Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the Love card. Azure is being joined by the Partnership card, and Bridget's being joined by the Focus card. Okay, so when the soul chooses to incarnate as a Virgo rising, I believe that there's a certain amount of wanting to experience your own hard work manifest in the material world. Then we get into the human imprint, and that work starts to become something we're enslaved to. We're working to support somebody else's version. The Virgo energy rules not only our health and our stress level and our pets, but it rules our employment and employers. So here I believe that there's an illumination coming. This full moon may have started it, where Virgo is starting to want to receive more bounty, wanting to start to feel a more easy flow, and maybe even a little bit more fun and relaxation within their experience, because Adriana is leading you towards the answers to your prayers. And when I see the Queen energy, I very much think that's about a receptive energy, and knowing that this energetic dynamic of the earth plane is really about attraction versus assertion. And I want to say this as well. If you are a female and you are trying to get pregnant, this is really an opportunity for you to relax, because as I looked at this Virgo ruling health, these two little children are being led by the angel to the perfect parental dynamic that will serve their soul's evolution. So this is also another opportunity. If for some reason you have wanting to bring children in and you've been stressed out about it, think about it. Would you want to walk into a cooking oven of stress? So we want to pull it back and relax, because Grace and Antoinette is about compassion, about seeing things from another person's point of view. And there's the Love card. In the Angel's Advice, we have Azure representing Azure representing your desired outcome happening in the very near future. This will absolutely happen. And there's the Partnership card. So there's something happening where there's twofold. If you are of childbearing years and you want to start a family, trust that the astrological dynamics have been very challenging. So there could be the dynamic that the soul didn't want to come in with some of these squares or oppositions. They wanted maybe an easier dynamic. And as we move further and further into the year, the nodes change, Pluto changes, obviously Saturn's just changed, because now we're asking Virgo to really look deeper, and also to look deeper into your focus, because you are ruled by Mercury. You're being offered an opportunity of illumination through some sort of review, some sort of a slowing down, a sort of an honoring of a path that has brought illumination, so that you can purport a new energy that's inviting in the experiences you want versus pushing forward, trying to kind of make them happen. And that's why I think Bridget is asking you to look deeper into your focus. A frustrated energy. When recently the Leo, my Saturn Pluto videos for Virgo and for Leo did super well, and I got super excited, and I literally watched myself have two energies. One was super excited, and then one was impatient for more growth. One was like, more, more, more. And I could see myself in my human body going more, 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 and seeing myself diminishing it, because I was now looking for the results with my eyes. But when I made the videos, I made them with my heart, and I was excited, and I was joyful, and I was like pumped up. And those are two different vibrations. And I think this is part of what you're delineating, discerning, figuring out right now. And as you become more powerful in your ability to receive, to not necessarily continue to move forward. And it isn't about not actually taking action. It's being aware of the platform of belief and thought as you take your action. Because when I made my monthlies, I recognized that I'm like, oh, I wonder if they'll do as well as the other videos, which is actually a scarcity thought. So here is this spiritual journey of not trying to be perfect, but seeing the thoughts and being observant of my own hidden pattern of lack. Like, it's so incredibly deep, but that's humans. It's not even like, I'm not special that way. Okay, let's go on to our Libras. Hey, Tipo, welcome to the room. Good to see you here. Hi, Jen. All right. My clock has changed behind me, but my kitchen clock is not. Oh, I'm a Libra sun, so I'm not particularly liking this card right now. Okay, so this is a little bit of a stuck energy. This guy is wearing royal garb, but we don't think he's a king. He looks more like a lord of the manor. We also have him holding his resources in a very awkward way that doesn't allow for movement. So let's see what's going on here. So Libra rising, Pisces is your 6th house because Aries is your 7th house, and the 6th house is of work. And I'm wondering if maybe we're going to start to feel a little bit of a sense of restriction coming in. But I want to offer it this way, because if there is a restriction, this very well could be the dawning of a new day, the dawning of a new opportunity. Let's see. Oceana is the first angel, Libra. The second is Fiona. The third is Akasha. And the final is Chantal. Oceana is being joined by the stag. Fiona is being joined by the water fairy. Akasha is being joined by the focus card. And Chantal is being joined by the fear card. So let's think about this for a second. Libra, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. As a Libra rising, Taurus is your 8th house, and Venus will be moving into your 8th house of transformation. Now we have this Saturn moving into your 6th house of work, of health, of, again, pets. And I want to say it this way, because when I refer to pets, I almost feel like it has, there's a sense of connection to land and to nature as well. Not to forget that Virgo is an earth sign, because that's the 6th house being Virgo. I know we're on Libra rising. Pisces is your 6th house, but we're overlaying the natural 6th house there, because I feel as if it's now time to take leadership of your emotional body. And I feel as if the feeling of being stuck could be potentially because I'm looking to someone else to make a move or to give me a green light or something here, because we've got Fiona saying that now that you ask God and the angels for help, be open to receiving. And then we have another inner knowing with the water fairy. And I feel like there's the potential that maybe Libra is not necessarily as stuck as the 4 of Pentacles would indicate, but rather you are imprinted with this feeling of feeling a little bit, I almost felt trapped. So as Venus moves into Libra's 8th house of transformation, you have an opportunity to maybe release yourself from any codependency that you've had in the way of money making, in the way of because when we see Taurus being your 8th house, Scorpio is your 2nd house. So this is an opportunity to dig deep into your own personal psychology of maybe how you've held yourself back because you feel a sense of being stuck in a position, because Akasha is teaching you about your focus. And these partnership signs, while I'm a Libra sun, I'm really not Libra sun. I am so Aries rising and Taurus moon, and my other planets support a strong sense of individuality. So I don't feel absorbed in relationships, but some energies do. And when I think about Libra, the negative side of Libra is to be a little passive aggressive because it doesn't like confrontation. Because where I'm going with this is I feel like potentially there is bounty in your relationships, but you're feeling like you have to hoard something and fear is getting in your way, because we have fear and we have Chantal. So this is what I want to offer you. Fear is about facing everything and rising, false evidence appearing real. Libra, you're, by nature, a very lovable energy. energy. And if for some reason you are in a situation right now where emotionally you're feeling vulnerable to something else, then this is an opportunity for you to really start to rewrite that story and to say, if I could bring in this dynamic, I can also, it is sustainable. Because I'm not sure that this is straight up about money. It feels more, when I look at this, as if it feels like a viability for things to move forward, to continue to be viable, to continue to be prosperous. And the stag is a little bit of a challenging energy as well, because the stag can be me stuck in my story. It could be me wanting to repeat my story, and spirit's asking you to swim through whatever emotional discomfort you're feeling right now so you don't stick yourself somewhere. I'm going to do one quick little clarification. Okay. And I want to offer this too, because I just pulled the movement card on top of the fear card and Chantal. I used to have this saying, action diminishes fear. But I want to offer it this way, because the action here is not about taking physical action. It's about identifying where you might be holding something too tightly. And if for some reason, you're not allowing your all the colors of whoever you are to show up in your relationships, then you are doing a disservice not only to the other person, but to yourself. Because I feel like there's a lot more acceptance and love and viability within your relationships than you're giving credit for. That's the way I want to put it, and that's where I'm going. And now moving on to Scorpio, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Welcome, Melissa. All right, here we go. All right, my Scorpios, we have this Aries energy here of the Emperor. We can see the rams everywhere. We know we've got a lot of energy going on in the house of Aries right now. And Mars co-rules you. Mars rules Aries. Let's see where Spirit is wanting you to stand in leadership. And in some ways, to have the tenacity of the ram. And I think that this is about continuing the climb. I just heard Miley Cyrus in my head. I can almost see it, that dream I'm dreaming. But a voice inside my head says, you'll never reach it. Every step I'm taking. Ooh, I just got chills everywhere. Okay, sorry. Oops, I got excited. Here we go, Scorpio. I love me, my Scorpios. I don't know maybe I'm a glutton for punishment, but I love Saturn. I love Pluto. I love Scorpio. Really, I truly think Scorpio, when you're not villainizing Scorpio for seeing deep underneath the mask, they're amazing. Our first angel is Sonia. The second is Ariel. The third is Yvonne. And the final is Patience. Good, Melissa. Good for you. Because, I really do believe that when I experience a challenging Pluto energy, I feel like I'm more directly lifting layers of my heart that have been covered in mesh or covered in netting and not really let my heart be seen. So Sonia is being joined by the spider. Ariel's being joined by the joy card. Yvonne is being joined by the focus card. And Patience is being joined by the disruption card. Some of these, when you think about the idea that Pluto and Mars both rule Scorpio. So, the average person would be like, oh, the god of war and death and destruction, you own that. You know what? This is like I'm going to say it. It's BS, man. It's only one color in the crayon box of Scorpio, because I think now this is truly about standing in an energy. See that red smock? that Aryan red smock, I think this is a standing as the hero. I feel like I see the Emperor as King Arthur today. I feel as if your relationship with spirit, your ability to connect with your team, especially now, because the South Node transiting your first house over this last year and a half, and if you're early degree Scorpio, you're experiencing this right now, is really an energy of asking you to look deeply as to where you're edging out your greatness, where you're allowing the key words of what Scorpio is to label you and identify you in a way that doesn't serve the depths of who you are, because spirit is absolutely offering you an opportunity to rise like the phoenix that you represent in a way that demonstrates this power and knowledge. And rather than trying to control others, your own awareness of self brings in an opportunity to stand in leadership for others. As Pluto moves into Aquarius, it will naturally square Scorpio. Is that correct? I think it is. I have to see. Let me think. Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn. Oh, Aquarius. I'm totally wrong there. Hold on a second. Scorpio. My brain just freaked out. But let me, regardless of that, let me go kind of rewrite this, because this is what I want to say. I think that there is a potential of Scorpio being aware of their energies and the duality of it. So as you've walked through the South Node and maybe it spiked you and maybe you had your stinger out and you were like, you know what, I can't do this anymore with you. I'm done, blah, blah, blah. At the same time, there's a liberating feeling to it. And as you're aware of your focus, and as you're aware of how important it is to allow the energies that don't serve your highest and greatest good, the things that have held you back from being as powerful as you want to be, allowing them to step aside for a minute, and rather than villainizing them, realizing they're no longer serving you. When the South Node, in my I have Scorpio as my 8th house, so I've got 2 or 3 planets in there or points, and I watch the South Node erode relationships, but then I was able to have the wherewithal that the relationships had been built on me over providing value at some point. And I was now transiting into a new vibration and frequency. So that energy was no longer serving me, nor was it serving the other party. Because if there's been any disruption, this patience card is really about observing how you representing the deepest of the psychological dynamics. Knowing that, being able to know that allows this disruption to bring a greater sense of connection to the divinity that is within you. And then it allows you an opportunity, I think, to prosper more. There's a feeling of being able to be more abundant, literally bringing in more material resources. Even though I don't necessarily see any here, I feel like the natural energy of the Emperor is to bring in a flow. So that's where I'm going for my Scorpios. All right, let's go on to our Sagittariuses. For those of you that might be new to the room, I start with the birthday month and then work my way forward. My Libra sun doesn't like to always start at Aries and end at Pisces. It's desperately unfair to me. So we started backwards. We used to go backwards from Pisces to Aries. And then I started to think that was unfair. So we started with the birthday month. So that's how that rolls. All right. Ooh, Sagittarius, the Queen of Pentacles. This is a very prolific energy. There's a subtlety to the various ways that the queens, where their gaze is, okay? So we recently just saw the Queen of Wands gazing out onto the world, where now we see the Queen of Pentacles gazing on all that she has built. So let's see where we're going with the Queen of Pentacles, because we also have a Capricorn energy attached here. We can see the goat on the chair. We can feel a strong sense of abundance. Everything is blossoming in this card. Everything is at its peak of growth. Desiree is in the foundational position. We have Fiona in the opportunity or the obstacle. We have Opal in the angel's advice. And then we have Archangel Uriel in the final position. This is for Sagittarius rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Thank you, Algo Bella. Thank you. In my head, sometimes, I think I'm right, then I think I'm wrong, and then I start to jumble around. And it's an opportunity to have self-love while I'm not perfect. Okay. Sagittarius, Desiree is being joined by the butterfly. Fiona's being joined by the bird. Opal's being joined by the frog. And Uriel's being joined by the Lady of the Lake. Underneath each one of the thrones, when we look at the court cards, we will always see a character underneath. I'm pretty sure almost every one of the thrones, if you can see this side. So here we see this little child underneath, right? And I feel as if this queen, while she has created so much abundance, there's still some stories sitting underneath. And this is what I want to offer you, because Desiree talks about conditions not being favorable. And then we have the butterfly here. And I almost felt like Desiree wasn't saying conditions weren't favorable as much as I felt like maybe Sagittarius rising, moon, sun, and stelliums were not really acknowledging the beauty of their own transformation and what they have experienced. Before the nodes were in the Taurus Scorpio axis, they were in the Sagittarius Gemini axis. And I feel as if no stone does not get unturned in these transits. So there's a part of me that makes me feel like maybe it's time to start to take a little bit of inventory of all you have created. And sometimes that creation is not just in the material. It's the things we've addressed underneath the surface that have prevented the material from coming. Because Fiona says, now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving. And when I looked at this Sagittarius, I thought maybe you're starting to tell yourself a new story. Like, well, that was then, but this is now. I felt like maybe there was a part of you that was starting to really, kind of bless the broken road, for lack of a better term. Because Opal here felt like you were starting to see things from God's perception and allowing yourself to really see that maybe if you were frustrated at some point, it was because you really weren't ready to move the story forward, or you weren't on solid enough ground. But now you've started to really see the underbelly of your own thought process, your own beliefs, and you've kind of cleaned that vibration up a bit and starting to trust a little bit. Because here, when I look at this, I almost feel like rather than Archangel or Uriel working with you on frustration, you were starting to own your frustration and starting to see that maybe I just wasn't ready to move the story forward. Maybe I wasn't, maybe I needed a little bit of time to anchor in my deep belief in myself in order to move that story forward. And now I feel much stronger about allowing the journey of manifestation, the journey of, because it's never a flat line. There's always a little bit of a roller coaster ride. And the thing about it is what feels scary is actually where we get the most juice. It's where we get the most resources, where we feel the most confident, because as we continue back up, we've conquered what's over here. So I think for my Sagittarius is you're starting to acknowledge and starting to dream differently, and maybe even a little bit bigger, because now instead of constantly expecting something from yourself, you're starting to see that if there's a dip, there's an opportunity to anchor in even more strongly into your manifestation. And when I say that, I feel like, again, there's a focus going on here, telling a new story. One of the things that, those of you that have watched me for a while, I just had to go see the dentist and all of this kind of stuff. And I hate going to the dentist. It's so scary. And as I was walking and it was raining and the wind was blowing, I thought, this is exactly what's happening inside of me. I'm having an internal storm wanting to run and flee. And then knowing if I flee, I'm only going to create more problems for myself. What I did was I kept saying, everything always works out for me. Everything always works out for me. So this is how I was acknowledging my fear, not giving into my fear, and yet declaring something else and trusting that my wobble, the universe has a certain compassion for my wobble. It doesn't necessarily respond to my wobble in a, sort of petting me way, but it has compassion because that awareness is the spiritual journey. Humans want to make it a destination. Humans want to make it, I'm perfect now, or I'm a spiritual being, or I do this, see my spirituality. It doesn't work like that, really. It doesn't. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Capricorn, how are you, my lovely little goats? And I do love you so much. The Four of Cups. This is a very interesting energy because this guy is so stuck in those 3 cups that he can't see what God is offering him. Now, let's see where we're going with this, because if you're a late degree Capricorn, and this is the other thing, you don't have to be a late degree Capricorn. You can be, you can be a Cancer, you can be a Libra, you can be an Aries. The Pluto transit is squaring or opposing you or conjunct you. At the same time, there is a T-square to Pluto in Capricorn, creating this tense focus on, am I willing to transform? And if you look at this guy, he does not look like he's willing to transform. So let's see what Spirit wants to say, because I don't necessarily think that's what's happening to Capricorn, but I can imagine you identifying where you have been stubborn in the past and maybe did not see the hand of God offering you something. Now, this is no time to judge yourself. This is no time to get on the bandwagon of shoulda, coulda, woulda. This is just a piece of information that allows you a new choice in this moment. All right, Capricorn, let's go. Our first angel is Layla. The second is Rosetta. The third is Shanti. And the final is Indriel. They can be, but I have such an affinity. I have so many Capricorns in my life. It's not even funny. And even some of my friends that I've known a long time that I didn't know to be Capricorns have Capricorn rising or a Capricorn moon. It's so funny. All right. Layla's being joined by the Risk card. Rosetta's being joined by the Communications card. Shanti's being joined by the Eagle. And Indriel's being joined by the Perception card. Okay. So this is what I want to say for my Capricorns, because what I think now is part of your transformation is to start to recognize that sometimes the hand of God comes in the form of disruption. It comes in the form of something happening that you weren't expecting, but it offers you opportunities to move beyond. Because Layla is asking you to talk to God about what you want and to risk a bigger story. And part of this energy here, now we can look at the emotional dynamic, but I'm really thinking that when I look at those 3 cups, I don't think my cup is full. And I feel like I've been working really hard and I finally take a rest and all I see is the same old stuff. And I cannot see that God is trying to hand me something bigger. And now my job is to align to that bigger thing, because here is Rosetta talking about, I really think this is the inner child. I'm not going to your children and I'm not going to being a teacher. I'm going, Capricorns, your inner child. It's like, then they talk about an old soul. Oftentimes, if you look at a Capricorn, heavy Capricorn Saturnian chart, you won't feel a light energy. You'll feel the old soul energy. And I think this is more about communication and knowing you're a child of God. Knowing that God is offering you something and you on some level get to be accountable for your focus. Because if your focus is on what is not working, you won't see what is, because God and the angels are offering you peace. They're offering you a connection, a sense of feeling, a sense of divine cooperation, an ebb and a flow, a partnership of some kind, because this challenge right now that you're walking through is to see the divinity within disruption, to understand your own perceptions and the layers of the perceptions that you have, the ones you're aware of and the ones you're not aware of, because the human imprint is like a tree. It's like an oak tree that's been around for 1,000 years, and each ring, the soul has an imprint, and every time it incarnates, it brings that whole imprint with it. We don't act on the whole tree every time. Sometimes we're only focusing in on one ring. But for now, I think what this is for Capricorn is trusting a bigger picture of things. As you've stepped forward, think about the idea that Capricorn is enduring beyond its own emotional comfort. It is obligated to the rules and the regulations of what the structures of government and authority. It represents leadership within that. Now you're rewriting that for yourself. And there may be just a little bit with this last energy of, well, I shouldn't say last, but with Pluto being at this last degree of Capricorn and then making this T-square between the nodes. The nodes are karmic points, the ones we're familiar with and the ones we're stretching for. And even if these aren't your particular natal nodes, they're still calling forth this action, this tenseness between the Scorpionic, other people giving my power away, and Taurus energy of feeling a little bit insecure about my voice. So now this is an opportunity for you to kind of sit back and unwrap your arms, go from this to this, and be like, knowing that you are waiting and about to receive divine inspiration to be the next logical step or the next logical point of focus. That's the way I want to put it. I think sometimes, especially for Capricorn here, the idea of what's expected from those around us really can put a fear inside of us that we will somehow be exiled or ostracized if we are not serving another person. And I think that on a deep, deep level, each human being wants the privilege of their own self-expression. So when we lovingly and gently assert ourselves in that direction, we are really inviting others rather than separating ourselves. And when we can see that wisdom, it makes it easier. I don't understand what that means. Oh, flow as in floor? I don't know what that meant. But anyway, all right, let's go on to our final sign, which is our Aquarius's rising moon, sun, and stelliums. This is a really pivotal this month. We're going to see a toe tip of Pluto into your first house. I really think that this is an exciting time. And I want to offer it this way because I have personally lived through Pluto conjunctions my whole life. I was not necessarily aware of it because I was not studying astrology that same way. And thank God, because if I would have known, I think I would have been very afraid. But what I realize is that I chose a master class in this lifetime. I chose to come in and to really rip up all the old flooring, speaking of flooring, that's been holding me down. And I feel like when as Aquarius experiences this, just this, like it's almost like not even more than like 5 or 6 weeks of this toe tip, first forward and then retrograde into your house at that 0 degree is really an interior job of redefining yourself to yourself and what you want to birth forward. And looking at that as an opportunity to really express leadership for others. It's a very beautiful energy. And we have the gentility of the strength card. This card represents not a heavy hand, but rather a soft hand, a compassionate hand. This beast is responding to her trust of him or her for that matter. And also this card represents a determination, a fortitude. And the 8 to me is also a very prosperous number because we're going to go basically, when we get into 2024, we will be in an 8 year, and all the introspection that we've done, all the reflection, all the assessing that we have done about our paths and about the things that influence our paths, we will not be rebellious in a way that is angry. We will be a calmer way of claiming ourselves, which I think is a little bit of the Aquarian energy transformed and what Pluto has to offer. Aquarius, our first angel is Archangel Gabriel, the second is Yvonne, the third is Merlina, and the final is Athena. And I've kind of I've been said this a few times recently, probably for the last 6 months. When Aquarius feels that sense of anxiety, that it's, Aquarius rules the nervous system, it can rule anxiety and panic attacks. But I want to offer it this way, because if you start to feel a sense of anxiety, I feel like that could potentially be your inner knowing saying, are you sure you're moving the direction that's authentic to you? So when you have an Aquarius first house, you're going to be innovative, you're going to be inventive, you're going to do things like nobody else does them. So, and then there's going to be a weird push pull to want other people to applaud your inventions. And yet at the same time, I feel like maybe there's an opportunity for you to give them a chance to catch up with your inventiveness, because they may not get it right away. We have Archangel Gabriel being joined by the Letting Go card, Yvonne being joined by the King, Merlina being joined by the Bear card, and Athena being joined by the Raven. Archangel Gabriel talks about my thought process, and Uranus rules the higher octave of Mercury. It rules that really innovative genius thought, the brilliance of thinking outside the box. And here the Letting Go card for me is from the movie Frozen, letting my magic roll. So I want to offer it this way, because Archangel Gabriel says you have an important life path in communications. The 11th house rules the World Wide Web. In this day, right now, I think this is about calming the beast inside of yourself that makes you feel somehow alien or exiled or different. And now realizing that as we move forward, our individual expression is the thing that most people will be responding for. They're going to look for the authenticity and the integrity behind that, because here it's about time for you to be vulnerable to this karmic point when your life gets to change in a way that you have only imagined, and that you haven't, there's no scientific proof that it can actually, get where it needs to go. And yet at the same time, it feels very viable to me, because I think the Baird here is about telling a new story of who you are. When we look at this, of course, it rules history, but I think that Merlina is representing the possibility of magic. And that when we as humans imagine magic, we imagine something outside of ourselves. Magic is alignment to our deepest desires with a belief that is rooted so deep it is unshakable. So here, I think that this is about being vulnerable to a new story and starting to tell that new story to yourself, and tell it in a way that is gentle and calm and understanding of the human journey. Because if there's one sign that represents anything but the human journey, it is Aquarius. It represents everything out to be explored in other atmospheres. Because I think Athena is saying it's time to lovingly assert yourself into your new expression of yourself, and to understand, because I always think that this, I love that song. This skull here, to me, well, it could look very, oh my God, death and just destruction. It feels very much as if the bones have been picked clean here. And this isn't the torso of the skeleton. This is the mind of the skeleton. And the magic comes from flying off of the old story and asserting yourself to the new story, and allowing that story to catch up to you. I've struggled a lot with my voice in astrology, because I feel as if I'm being very rebellious to what has been. When I listen to all the other astrologers, every single one of them, very few of them talk about the higher vibrations of Mars. Very few of them talk about the higher vibrations of Pluto or Saturn. They go into the dark human structure of it, and I just want to scream out loud, that's not right anymore. We've evolved beyond that. Let's catch up to that. And so as I've walked the journey of first feeling Aquarian, my Chiron is an Aquarius. So I think I might have died saying things that weren't like other people in previous incarnations, but now I feel like Spirit is really encouraging me to be brave, to express my individuality, to allow my thoughts, because others are resonating with that, and they want that same power and that same influence over their own lives. So I want to offer this for each one of you in your own way. As you have the strength and fortitude to allow your gifts to come forward, you will tame the beast of your mind that has been imprinted with a human enslavement. It's really, truly, I must serve my, survival, or I must serve this person in order for me to feel bounty. And all of that is what is being rewritten, because as we know that our thoughts are things, we will bring opportunities and situations to demonstrate that. And there will be no people out there that can really mess with that. There may be rich people and there may be influential people, but our powerful law of attraction, and then our allowing in those experiences to know we are receivers rather than asserters. Asserters? Is that a word? I don't know. But rather the assertion, then we will start to see that we are representing that which can be. And we will also understand when we see those that we love go into a dip, that they are in a moment of illumination. And will they allow for that? And will they allow that to be received? Okay, it's a powerful week. It's a powerful time. Okay, I'm not saying that to be, ooh, look at my video. I'm saying it because we are in such a fork in the road. And as Venus has walked through Aries, and her red hair is flying and she's being brave about what she wants, and she goes into Taurus, she's ready to put in that determination to claim herself and her value and to allow her voice to come forward. And I really, truly believe that with technology nowadays, more and more people will find those that they resonate with and support each other in their individuality. And it will become such a fun place to be on this earth. And maybe that's a few thousand years off, but we're working on it. All right, guys, that's it for me for this week. Again, next week's Lucky's birthday, so he's going to expect lots of treats. And then the next week will be a nightmare because he won't eat anything but treats. But we'll see if we break the cycle. My little boy, wherever he is. Oh, he's under the desk right now, laying in the sun. All right, everybody, I want to thank all of you that come every week, and those of you that are new to the tribe, I want to welcome you here. If you'd like to get a reading with me, I am available, and just send an email to me and I'll give you information on whether an angel reading or the astrology readings. But I'm here and I'm excited. So be sure to hit that like, share, comment, all that good stuff. I'll be producing more videos this upcoming week. We're going to look at Mars going into Cancer and our new moon in Aries, which is going to be super powerful again because it's on the world axis. So we really are in these wonderful transformational times. All right, guys, thanks so much. Have a great week. Peace out.